You reach for your phone before your feet touch the floor, not because there's something urgent, not because someone is waiting. You reach for it because that's what your hand does now. It's automatic. You've done it so many times that the thought to not do it doesn't even arrive anymore. You scroll for a few minutes, maybe longer. You don't remember what you saw. But something in you shifted. A headline, a notification, someone else's opinion about something you didn't ask about. And by the time you finally sit up, before you've spoken a single word, before you've had a single thought of your own, your morning already belongs to someone else. This is not a lecture about phone addiction. You've heard that lecture. This is something smaller and more honest than that. The Stoics believed that the first moments of the day are the most dangerous. Not because something bad might happen, but because your mind in those moments is wide open, like a door left unlocked. And whatever walks through first sets the tone for everything that follows. What if you stood at that door yourself? Not with motivation, not with a 10-step productivity ritual, just 10 sentences, said quietly, or just thought. 10 sentences that take less than 2 minutes, and that put you back at the center of your own day before the world has a chance to move you off it. That's what this is about. The first sentence is this: this day has already begun. The question is, who is running it? Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, a book he never intended anyone to read, a book written in the middle of a war, in a tent, in the dark. He wrote about mornings, about the weight of the blanket, about the warmth of the bed, about the pull to stay. He said something that sounds simple and isn't. The body wants comfort. That's not weakness. That's just the body doing what bodies do. But the mind has a choice the body doesn't. The mind can decide, before the feet even touch the ground, what kind of person is about to walk into this day. He wrote, "Begin the morning by saying to yourself, I shall meet with difficult, ungrateful, and unkind people today, but I am prepared." That's not pessimism. That's preparation. You know what the alternative looks like. You walk into a meeting expecting it to go smoothly and it doesn't, and something in you cracks a little. Not because the meeting was catastrophic, but because you weren't ready. You had no armor. You assumed the day would cooperate. The day doesn't cooperate. The day just arrives. This day has already begun. The question is, who is running it? Say that. Not as performance, as fact. The day is running whether you are or not. The only question is whether you showed up to it or got pulled through it. The second sentence, my reaction is mine. Everything else is not. You're going to get an email today that irritates you, or a message that doesn't say what you needed it to say, or a comment from someone who doesn't know the full picture but has opinions anyway. These things will happen. They happen every day. You know this. What you forget every single morning is the line. Epictetus spent the first part of his life as a slave, not metaphorically, literally owned. His leg was broken by his master, and by some accounts, he told the man calmly that if he kept twisting, it would break. It broke. And Epictetus said simply, "Did I not tell you?" He had no power over his body, over where he slept, over whether he was sold, over almost anything external to himself. And he built, from that condition, one of the most complete philosophies of personal freedom ever written. His central idea was a line, a real line, drawn through the middle of experience. On one side, what is yours? On the other, what is not? Your opinions, your choices, your responses, your attention, yours. Everything outside that, not yours. Not because it doesn't matter, because it was never under your authority to begin with. My reaction is mine. Everything else is not. This is not about becoming cold. It's about knowing where your power actually lives. Because when you spend the morning preparing to react to the world, you give the world something it didn't earn. Control over your interior life. Draw the line before you leave the bed. It will hold longer than you think. The third sentence. What I do in the next hour is the only version of me that exists right now. You have a version of yourself you're proud of, and a version you're embarrassed by, and a version you keep promising to become. And all of these versions live somewhere in your head, talking over each other, and none of them are here. Here is the next 60 minutes. Seneca wrote to his closest friend, hundreds of letters over the last years of his life. And the thing he came back to again and again was this: we waste our time by living everywhere except the present. We borrow from the past to fuel regret. We borrow from the future to fuel anxiety. And we give almost nothing to the hour we're actually standing in. He wrote, while we are postponing, life speeds by. Not life in general, your life. This specific morning, this specific hour. The person you were yesterday, with the mistakes and the fatigue and the things that didn't go right. That person isn't here anymore. You don't have to carry them through the door. And the person you'll be in 6 months, the version you're building toward, they can't help you right now. They aren't here either. The only one who is here is the you of the next 60 minutes. What I do in the next hour is the only version of me that exists right now. This is not pressure. This is relief. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to become someone. You just have to be here, for this hour, doing what this hour needs. That's it. That's actually it. The fourth sentence, I will meet difficulty today, and I have met it before. There is a specific kind of anxiety that arrives before the day begins. You know the kind. It doesn't have a name or a face. It's not fear of anything in particular. It's more like a low hum, a sense that something is waiting for you, something you haven't prepared for, something that might undo the version of yourself you're trying to be. You've sat with that, longer than you'd like to admit. Seneca wrote about a man preparing to sail into a storm. He didn't advise the man to hope there would be no storm. He advised him to sail, having already, in his mind, survived it. To have walked through the difficulty in imagination so thoroughly that when it arrived in reality, it couldn't surprise him. This is simply, you meet the hard thing before it arrives. You don't dread it. You prepare for it. You say quietly, I know something difficult is coming today. I don't know its exact shape. Then you say, but I've been in difficult rooms before. I've gotten through difficult conversations before. I've had days that felt like they were ending something important, and they didn't. I will meet difficulty today, and I have met it before. And the anxiety doesn't disappear when you say this, but it changes texture. It goes from a surprise to a known. And a known difficulty is one you can stand in front of without flinching. The fifth sentence. Someone will test my patience today. I already know how I'll respond. It's not a stranger. You know that, right? You already know who it's going to be. There's a person, maybe at work, maybe at home, maybe in a group chat. And when you think about your day, that person is somewhere in the background, not the center, but present. And the thing you're hoping, quietly, is that today they won't do the thing they always do. They will do the thing they always do. Epictetus was very clear on this. The people around you are not problems to be solved or obstacles to be removed. They are conditions, like weather. You don't argue with rain. You bring a coat. You don't argue with a person who has shown you, reliably, over months or years, exactly who they are. You prepare for them the way you prepare for the weather. And here's the thing that changes when you do this. You stop reacting and start responding. Reaction is what happens when you're caught off guard. Response is what happens when you already knew this moment was coming and decided quietly in the morning, before the day started, decided how you would meet it. Someone will test my patience today. I already know how I'll respond. You don't have to decide how right now. The decision just has to exist before the test arrives. Because if it doesn't, you'll make the decision in the moment. And in the moment, you'll make the worst version of it. The sixth sentence. Something today will not go as planned. Good. This one takes longer to mean. You have a plan for today. A rough shape of what the day is supposed to look like. And somewhere in that plan, something is going to break. A timeline will slip. A conversation will go wrong. Something you were counting on won't arrive. Something you didn't see coming will. The first reaction, always, that this is a problem. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that has been repeated so many times, it started to feel like a poster. But it wasn't a poster. It was a private note to himself, written in Greek, in a language most people around him didn't speak, for an audience of exactly one. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He wasn't writing motivational content. He was talking to himself about a specific morning, a specific day, a specific thing that had gone wrong. And he was reminding himself, not for the first time, that the obstruction was not separate from the work. It was the work. You won't believe this sentence when something goes wrong. That's fine. You don't have to believe it in the moment. You just have to have said it this morning, so that when the obstruction arrives, some part of you, some quieter part, already knows what it means. Something today will not go as planned. Good. Not because failure is fun, because what you do when things break is who you actually are. Everything else is just rehearsal. The seventh sentence. I don't need to perform today. I need to show up. You wake up tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that comes from carrying something heavy for a long time. The version of yourself you're supposed to be for other people. Competent, certain, collected. The version that doesn't let things land too visibly. You've been performing that version for a while, long enough that it doesn't feel like performance anymore. It just feels like effort. Epictetus wrote about role, not as something imposed on you, but as something you chose, or can choose, to inhabit with integrity. The employee, the partner, the parent, the friend. Not because the role defines you entirely, but because within the role, there is specific work to be done. And the work doesn't require a performance. It requires presence. There is a difference, a real one, between showing up and performing. Performance is about being seen, doing the right thing. Showing up is about doing the right thing, whether anyone sees it or not. Today will ask a lot of you. It always does. But most of what it asks doesn't require brilliance. It requires you to be in the room. Awake, honest, willing to do the thing that's in front of you without needing it to look a certain way from the outside. I don't need to perform today. I need to show up. Let go of the version of yourself that needs the day to validate it. That version is exhausting to maintain. And the day doesn't care about validation anyway. The day just needs you here. The 8th sentence. I will not explain myself today to people who have not earned that. You spend a lot of energy justifying your choices to people who aren't that invested in you. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way you'd describe as a problem. But there's a quiet accounting that happens. In your head, often before you've even made a decision, where you preemptively explain yourself to someone who would disapprove. You shape your behavior around that imagined disapproval. You spend more time than you should defending something internally to someone who isn't even in the room. Epictetus had a concept for this. He said that you have to be careful about who you give the authority to judge you. Not who judges you. You can't control that. But who you give authority to. Who you let inside the space where your self-assessment lives. And the honest answer, for most people, is that they've let too many people in. People who haven't demonstrated they're trustworthy. People who haven't shown up consistently. People whose opinions carry weight simply because they were loud, or because you've known them a long time, or because disagreeing with them is uncomfortable. Your explanation of your choices, your values, your direction is not owed to everyone who asks for it. I will not explain myself today to people who have not earned that. This is not arrogance. This is conservation. You have a limited amount of clarity about who you are and where you're going. Don't spend it defending yourself to people who have already decided who you are. The 9th sentence. I seek wisdom today, not approval. You know the feeling of doing something well and then waiting for someone to notice, for a message, for a reaction that tells you it was enough, that you were enough. You've been doing it so long, you've forgotten there was ever a version of you that didn't. Seneca wrote about 2 kinds of people: those who learn so that others will admire their learning, and those who learn so that they can use what they've learned. He wasn't gentle about which kind he thought was worth becoming. The one who seeks approval measures every day by what came back from the outside. The one who seeks wisdom measures the day by what they understood that they didn't understand before. And the difference in how these 2 people feel at the end of the day, at the end of a year, is significant. Not because the approval never comes. Sometimes it does, but it never stays. The next day, the measurement resets, and you have to earn it again. Wisdom accumulates, approval evaporates. I seek wisdom today, not approval. This doesn't mean you stop caring about other people's responses. It means you stop letting those responses be the primary evidence of whether the day was worth something. The day was worth something if you understood something you didn't understand before. If you handled something better than you would have 6 months ago. If you stayed true to something when it would have been easier not to. That's a day worth having, whether anyone noticed or not. The 10th sentence, and this is the one that holds the others. When this day ends, I will have been the version of myself I decided to be this morning. You don't say this to pressure yourself. You say it to close the loop. Most mornings, you wake up with intentions that dissolve before noon. Not because you lack discipline, because you made the intention without making the decision. There's a difference. An intention is something you hope to do. A decision is something you've already done. You've just done it in advance. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He wrote his journal not to process his feelings. He wrote it to anchor his decisions. To say, in the morning, in his own hand, this is what I will be today. And then, to carry that writing with him through the hours. Not as guilt, as a compass. You don't need to write it. You just need to say it. When this day ends, I will have been the version of myself I decided to be this morning. And because here's what happens when you don't say it. You get to the end of the day, and you feel a vague sense of having been moved rather than having moved. of having reacted more than responded, of having given more of yourself to other people's agendas than to your own. And you're not sure exactly when that happened or how to stop it. The loop closes at night, but it opens in the morning. And if you don't open it with intention, something else will open it for you. This sentence is the one that makes the other 9 matter, because it says, I am not just saying these things. I am deciding who I will have been already, before I've done anything. And that decision will hold, or it won't. And I will know the difference when the sun goes down. There's a moment, somewhere in the late evening, when the day asks you a quiet question. You might not hear it as a question. It arrives more like a feeling, a slight settling, or a slight restlessness, depending on how the day went. What it's asking is, who were you today? Not in a grand sense, in the small sense, in the sense of the specific moments that only you know about. The conversation you could have handled better and did. The decision you almost made and didn't. The version of yourself you chose when no one was watching, and there was no particular reason to choose well, except that you had said, this morning, that you would. 10 sentences, said quietly, in the 2 minutes before your feet touch the floor. Not a ritual, not a routine, just 10 decisions made in advance, so that when the day arrives, and it will arrive the same way it always does, full and demanding and indifferent to your preferences, you are already inside it, already oriented, already in some small but real way, yourself. You won't remember all 10 of them tomorrow morning. That's fine. The ones that stayed with you are the ones you needed. Start there. The others will come back when they're supposed to. The day begins before you're ready. It always does. The question is just whether you meet it.